Hello and welcome to this rest and digest class. So today we're going to be working together on improving and stimulating healthy digestion through a few yoga postures. And then we're going to get into some deep, restful, and relaxing postures. So this is going to be a little bit of a blend between hatha and restorative yoga. If you are brand new to my practice, my name is Nicole McDonald. I'm a Kripalu yoga teacher, and I'm so happy that you are joining me. A couple of things, a couple of housekeeping items that you might find useful for today's class in particular um, are having a mat or a solid practice space, something where you can practice on a non-slip surface, a yoga block or two. And if you don't have yoga blocks, that's fine for the purpose of today's class. You can substitute that with a couple of pillows from your bed, um, or some throw pillows from your couch or couch cushion. Can support your comfort and support a lifting of the hips, because we're going to be doing a couple of postures that you may find that yummy and useful to have on hand. So get into something super, super comfy. Nothing fancy here is required, and I will meet you on the mat. Okay, well, welcome back. And again, I'm so glad that you're joining me for this very special class. I'm going to invite you to come together in a seated position, something that's comfortable. Your legs do not have to be crossed like mine. They can be out in front of you. You can be kneeling. You can have those beautiful little mermaid legs. This is often what I call mermaid legs, just the knees bent at 45 or 90 degrees. But wherever you land, allow yourself to be rooted through the sits bones and feel yourself growing longer through the spine and up through the crown of the head. You can take a few arriving breaths here and even invite the eyes to close or the gaze to soften if eyes closed really just isn't in your practice today. And start here by just noticing the natural rhythm of your breath. How is your breath arriving with you in your practice? And this is also a great place to acknowledge where we're transitioning from in our day. And so there might be things that you have been doing before this or things that you plan on doing afterwards, and the acknowledgement of that transition from life into this practice space that we're creating here right now. It's an important acknowledgement because that's part of who you are. Now start slowing the breath down, one breath at a time. Each inhale becomes a little bit deeper, and each exhale becomes a little bit longer. And with this slowing down of the breath, allowing the breath to build now from the belly, up into the ribs, into the chest. So we're growing our Dirga breath, our three-part breath. And exhaling chest, ribs, and belly. Continuing in this form of breathing, inhaling belly, ribs, and chest, and exhaling chest, ribs, and belly. Allow yourself to do this for a few more rounds, being mindful of continuing to lengthen and elongate these breaths. And if you'd like, you can start layering on the ujjayi, or the ocean sounding breath, on top of this dirga breath. And that ujjayi breath is created by very gently contracting the throat muscles as if you were going to swallow or snore with your mouth closed. And that creates a small drag of air. And you may notice that audible ocean sound. These are great breaths for slowing down the heart rate, signaling to your body that it can move out of fight or flight mode and come into the rest and digest response, which is also governed by the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is the part of us that goes, okay, we can relax, we can rest now. So take one or two more breaths at your own pace. When you feel like you've finished this part of your pranayama, release control of the breath and just return to your natural rhythm. If the eyes were closed, it might be nice to flutter them open a little bit and just notice any changes between this moment right here and from when you arrived into your practice a few minutes ago. Let's bring the hands together at heart center. Thumbs brush the sternum right at the heart space here, tapping into that wisdom of the heart, the intuition, the longing, the knowing, and bowing the head. Feel a gentle stretch in the back of the neck as we do this. And here we're acknowledging that we're embarking on the movement portion of our practice. And so if there's anything that I'm offering you today that really just isn't suiting you or fitting your needs, please feel free to make your own adjustments, to skip things. And this is your practice, your space, your time, and you, above anybody else, know your body better than anyone. With your next exhale, release hands. Hands are going to float down to the sides. And as you inhale, letting the arms float upward toward the sky. Palms are going to face each other. And if it's in your practice today, letting palms come to touch on the exhale, sailing the palms down the midline of the body, letting the thumbs brush the heart space. And practice here at your own pace with the rhythm of your breath. Inhaling letting arms rise and exhaling to let arms float down the midline. Take a few more turns here. You can even let the gaze lift a little bit toward the hands, and following the hands, the gaze drops a little bit downward. Last one. Arms rise up. The next time they're up, just let them stay here. Stretch at center, maybe taking one arm and reaching, then the other arm and reaching, wiggling the fingers, circling the wrists, breathing here. With your next exhale, let the right hand fall toward the right hip, and the left arm is going to sail overhead and off to the right, stretching the left side body, keeping that left sits bone nice and grounded. Pause here and breathe. You might even find a nice little pulse in this movement with the breath. And another option too is to also let the shoulder lift, the chest open slightly. The gaze can lift toward the ceiling. So stacking shoulders on top of one another. Allow yourself or invite yourself a couple more breaths here. And when you're ready, inhaling, letting the arms float back up to center together again, and exhaling. Left hand now comes by the left sits bone, right arm on the exhale sails overhead and off to the left. Finding any version of this that feels good. You can either move dynamically between these two, or you can find yourself pausing here and pulsing or stretching in stillness, letting that right side body open up. The chest can open up toward the sky, as can the gaze, maybe finding a little pulse. And smiling. Inhale to come up. And exhale, let arms float down in front of you. We're going to come onto hands and knees. So if you're sitting on anything like I was, just scooch it right off to the side. From hands and knees, let's find a tabletop position. So the knees are going to stack right under the hips, the hands spread nicely, finding firm and solid ground beneath you. Fingertips spread nice and wide, pressing into the palms. Strong arms here underneath the shoulders. Inhale, lift the tailbone, drop the belly, the gaze comes forward. And exhale, tuck the tailbone. Let the upper back reach for the sky so the back of the heart is pressing up toward the heavens as the chin dips toward the chest. Moving with the breath. At your own pace, inhaling, tailbone lifts, belly starts to drop, and the gaze comes forward. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone. Back of the heart reaches to the sky. Chin toward chest. Keep doing a few of these. These are wonderful. These cat-cows are so great for improving digestion. And other than creating this beautiful movement of the spine that helps us stretch and flex the spine, it also compresses and lengthens the intestines. And this compression and lengthening in cat-cow of the intestines helps to circulate blood flow, which encourages healthy digestion. So if you're ever feeling like you have an upset tummy or you're not digesting food properly, doing a few minutes of cat-cow can really be a game changer. With your next exhale, find a neutral spine. Let the big toes touch together. The knees come a little wider and press the hips all the way back toward the heels. Child's pose. Arms extend out in front of us. Let the belly expand onto the thighs and toward the floor, filling the belly with nice deep breaths. Stretch here at center. Maybe walk the fingertips a little forward until you feel a stretch in the shoulders, letting the forehead rest on the earth. This is a great place to engage those dirga breaths, that 3-part breath. Inhaling belly, ribs, and chest. And exhaling chest, ribs, belly, feeling everything hug back in on that exhale. On your next exhale, start to walk the hands over toward the left. Hands are going to stay shoulder width apart. Keep grounding that right sits bone in toward that right heel. Sometimes when we bring the hands over to the left, the right side wants to lift up and follow. So we're going to work to just ground that. And walk the hands over to the left until you feel a stretch in the right side body. When you feel that stretch, breathe deeply into the right ribs. Take another breath or two here. And when you're ready to transition, your next inhale will take you back to center. Pause here at center for one round of breath, inhaling and exhaling. And then let your next exhale take your hands over to the right. So walking the hands over to the right on the exhale, letting the left sits bones ground into the left heel. The head follows with the hands, feeling the stretch in the left side body. Another breath or two right here. And then with your next inhale, come back to center. Let this be a resting child. Bring the arms either behind you, turning the cheek to one side, or make a little pillow for your head by stacking the forearms on top of one another. Breathe nice and deeply here. This might be a great place for some of those letting go breaths I love to practice, inhaling deeply through the nose and exhaling through the mouth with a sound or a sigh. Let's take another one of those letting go breaths. Inhaling deeply through the nose and exhaling. Feeling any extra energy or tension release in toward the floor, letting the earth neutralize some of that energy. And when you're ready, your next inhale will take you back up to a tabletop position. And from here, let your left hand come into the center, so right under your face. Your right arm is going to swoop up and off to the right, twisting and opening up toward your right side. And exhale, start to thread that right arm in the space between your knees and your left arm, coming down onto that shoulder, right onto the outside of the right shoulder. You can choose to stay here and find a deep stretch in this more static position, or if you'd like to move with the breath, inhaling, letting the right arm raise up to the right, finding that twist in the spine, and exhaling, threading the needle. So your choice, a few more breaths. And let your next inhale bring you back to a tabletop position, switching sides. Right arm comes underneath the face. Inhale, left arm sweeps open and up to the left. Exhale, thread the needle. Left arm comes into the space between the right hand and the legs. You can choose to stay right here in this static stretch, landing on the outside of the left shoulder, resting on the left cheek of the left temple, or maybe moving dynamically. Inhaling, arm sweeps up. Exhaling, left arm threads. Find what feels right for your body here. Taking one or two more breaths. And letting your next inhale bring you all the way back up to tabletop, hands plant underneath the shoulders. Walk the hands just a hair forward, a couple palm lengths maybe. Curl the toes under, and on the inhale, lift the knees. Hover here, hovering table. On the exhale, press the hips back toward the sky. Keep knees bent if this is your first downward facing dog of the day. And maybe pedal the feet. So the important part here is just to keep some length in the spine. And you can let this down dog be dynamic, where you're moving and finding sort of what feels good here, that may be rocking the hips back and forth or pedaling the feet. Or maybe you move towards stillness for a few breaths. Letting the heels reach toward the floor. They do not have to connect to the floor. The spine is nice and long. Feel that energy from tailbone through the crown of the head. So down dog is a great inversion, again, for digestion, especially if you start breathing deeply into the belly. Take another breath or two. And then shift the weight forward into the hands and either chaturanga down or drop the knees and lower all the way to the belly. Let the tops of the feet press firmly into the floor and let the hands come underneath the shoulders. Elbows are going to hug in toward the ribs. Let the forehead, nose, mouth, or chin rest on the earth. With your next inhale, press into the tops of the feet and the three bony points of the pelvis. Inhale and let the head and the chest lift, cobra. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, press into the pelvis and the feet. Lift the head and the chest. Find your cobra. And you can find stillness in a static version again of this posture, or you can keep moving dynamically if movement is something that feels really good. Laying on the belly is a little bit of compression and massage for the internal organs. Again, wonderful for digestion. Take one more round of breath wherever you are. And lower all the way down. Create a little stack of the forearms. Let your forehead rest here. And take a few breaths here in a crocodile pose with legs extended out in front of you, or out behind you, rather. Breathing deeply into the belly, letting those big breaths expand into the earth and giving the abdominal organs a massage. Gently lift the feet up on an inhale by bending the knees and start to windshield wiper the feet from side to side. In the next breath or two, allow yourself to find some stillness and letting the feet eventually settle back on the earth. Bringing hands into cactus arms or goalpost arms with arms bent at 90-degree angles, and letting yourself rest on the right cheek. Inhale and lift and bend the left leg. So we're going to keep that left leg resting on the ground, but it's going to bend at 90 degrees. For half frog, right leg is strong and extended long behind you. This is a great place to close the eyes. Continue breathing deeply into the belly. And maybe starting to slow those breaths down again. And take one more round of breath. And on your next inhale, gently pull the left leg back underneath the body so it's extended out nice and long. And let yourself turn to the other cheek. So maybe now resting on the left cheek. Inhaling, right leg bends at 90 degrees for half frog on the other side. Breathing here. Letting the body and the breath start to slow down as we enter into the more restful portion of our practice together. And take another breath or two. And when you're ready, letting the right leg come back in towards center. And this time, stacking the forearms again on top of each other, letting the forehead rest down. Taking a few breaths here, the last positions that I have planned on our stomach. You might have other postures planned, and that's great. And connecting again into the earth. Grounding the third eye. And letting the breath provide a little bit of massage here for the internal organs as the belly expands onto the floor. You have the option here. Well, you always have the option, but I'll specifically offer this option of stopping the video here if you'd like to end your practice and have your own shavasana at your own pace. You can end right here. Or if you'd like to continue, take a breath in and roll over. We're going to mindfully come onto our backs. Make sure you have all of your Shavasana props ready because we will be using them in a little bit. And also have blocks or a cushion handy. So gather all those little yum yums together now. Yum yums is what I say to Ollie when he has his toys or his treats. But these are my treats, so these are my yum yums. So mindfully make your way all the way onto your back. Once you find yourself onto your back, supported by the earth, let the arms rise up overhead. On an inhale, point the toes and wiggle the fingers, stretching in opposite directions. Here we're lengthening the torso, lengthening the arms and the legs. And exhaling, hugging the knees into the chest. You can let the knees come nice and wide here if you'd like, or you can keep them close together, but I'm going to take the wide option and just find a gentle rock or a gentle circling of the knees. If you're circling, be mindful about going in both directions. You might be moving with the breath, or you might just be sort of letting the body move and the breath is gently flowing, but maybe not necessarily paired with the movement, and that's okay. This sort of a free flow movement right here. Take about 2 to 3 more breaths to bring yourself back to a place of stillness. And with the knees hugged in toward the chest, let the arms come out into a T. And exhale, knees, both knees fall to the left. You might hear a little, what I call the Rice Krispies, the snap, crackle, and pop of some of these joints waking up as we're coming into a twisting movement. And always be aware of where your limits are. There's no pressure to get the knees down toward the floor if you'd like. to use a support underneath the knees. That's wonderful. Taking a few breaths here, nice and deep. These twists are wonderful for digestion and helping things sort of move along in the body, sort of like wringing out a sponge. Inhale, let the knees come back to center. And on the exhale, move right through, gathering any supports for underneath your legs if you'd like, but letting the knees fall down to the right, either to the floor or in the air or supported by a cushion, blanket, pillow, or block. Feel the shoulders grounding into the earth as if you're anchored here by the shoulders. And the gaze can look straight ahead as you breathe. Deep breaths here into the ribs. And letting the next inhale move the knees back to center. Hug the knees in toward the chest. Maybe even take the knees and the nose toward each other. Feel a little stretch there. And release. Let the legs extend long, the arms come up overhead. One more time, big stretch. Lengthening the intestines. And then hugging the knees back in toward each other. Give yourself a little freedom of movement here. Maybe letting one leg and the other move independently, but allowing the hands to come clasp the shins or the thighs. Giving yourself a bit of a rock or a spiral. Letting the feet on the exhale settle down toward the sits bones hip width apart. And inhaling, the right ankle or foot is going to come and rest on top of the left thigh. You have a few options here for opening up the hips gently. One is taking the right hand and gently pressing away against the right thigh, staying right here and breathing and feeling an opening of the hips. To take it a little further, let the navel come back and press in toward the spine, grounding into the floor, creating a little bit of room as the lower back presses in to the earth. Lift the left leg, drawing the right foot and thigh closer to the chest, and maybe even looping the hands around the left thigh for support. There might be a lot of feeling here, so find what suits you. Taking another breath or two wherever you are. And exhale, release. Let everything come back to the floor. Knock the knees together, step the feet wide, and give the legs a little bit of a wiggle. Setting up for the other side, step the feet back to where they were, close to the sits bones, feet hip width apart. Inhale, and the left ankle is going to cross over the right thigh now. Taking the left hand, exhaling, and gently pushing away against the left thigh. You can choose to stay here, or if you'd like to take it a little deeper, pulling the navel in toward the spine, grounding the low back against the earth, and inhaling, lifting the right leg, looping the hands, interlacing the hands around the right thigh, and maybe finding a deeper stretch in the outside of that left hip. Closing the eyes if that feels good, maybe breathing deeply. And taking another breath or two to be and feel everything there is to feel right here. And exhaling, settling, unlooping the fingers if you're interlaced, and settling back down. And knock the knees together one more time, step the feet wide, and give your legs a little shimmy, a little wiggle. So here is where you might find blocks or a couple of pillows or cushions useful. And I'm going to offer the use of one block today. At least that's what I'll model. Right here, we're going to come into a supported bridge, stepping the feet close to the sits bones. So just like you were before, grabbing a hold of your support and inhaling, pressing through the feet just enough to lift the hips and slide your support underneath the sacrum. Make sure you feel yourself nice and stable before you let go. And then when you feel that stability and that support from underneath, release the hands if you feel safe and comfortable in doing so. Coming into a supported bridge. The chest draws in toward the chin lifts toward the sky. So the back of the neck is nice and long. The heart opens here. You may even step the shoulder blades in toward each other a little bit. This is an active pose, but at the same time, it's a resting. It can be a resting pose. And so find where the body can release into supports. Where can you let go? So are you clenching your jaw? Are you holding your breath? Are you doing the classic bridge pose, butt clench? Maybe release the butt. And find that slowing of your breath. You can play here with movement by lifting the legs, maybe doing a legs up the wall version, letting gravity take hold here. So in legs up the wall, the legs are in the air, but you're not really working to support them being in the air. Or better yet, if you have a wall, let the legs just be supported by laying them up against the wall. That's really like, oof, if I wasn't practicing in the middle of the room right now, and if moving to the wall wouldn't take me out of camera view, that's where I'd be. You can explore some movement here, letting one leg come to the floor, one leg laying in or staying in the air, maybe alternating. If it feels good, you can even do a little arms over the head action, circling the ankles. Take 2 to 3 more deep rounds of breath wherever you are in this posture or this series of postures. When you feel ready, inhale, press through the feet, lift the hips, and gently slide your support out from underneath you. Release toward the floor. Take a few more breaths, or you know what? This is a pre-recorded video. Take as long as you want to do whatever you'd like here, whether that's coming into more postures like happy baby or shoulder stand. Or maybe you feel like, oh, I wasn't on my feet. I want to be on my feet. And so coming up and maybe coming into a tree or a warrior, this is your time and your space. Right? If you're ready to start your Shavasana, gather all the things around you that support your ultimate comfort and relaxation and arrive into that space. So I'm going to gather a blanket and I'm going to join you in this Shavasana. One of the things I find really enjoyable for me personally is to elevate my knees by putting a couple blocks underneath my knees and laying a blanket over my abdomen. And so I'm coming all the way down on my back, but you can do your Shavasana sitting, laying on a couch, laying in bed, on your side, on your tummy, wherever you'd like. Whatever position you land in, again, a nice opportunity to invite the eyes to close or the gaze to just soften. So really unfocusing the eyes. Tuning into the natural rhythm of your breath once again, just like we do in the beginning and throughout practice. Noticing any changes between when you arrived into your practice and now. And as the body starts to settle into the position that you'd like to take, sometimes this is a great opportunity to make those little wiggles and adjustments that really help kind of lock you in place of where the body wants to settle. It's kind of like a dog circling, trying to find that the best place to lay down. And when you're ready to find stillness, allow the breath to start to slow down again. Drawing deeper inhales and long, soft exhales. Taking a letting go breath here, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Start to let the muscles of the face soften. The jaw unclenches and the tongue becomes a little softer in the back of the mouth. Let the slowing down of the breath invite ease into the throat, the chest. Let the shoulders relax down and away from the ears. And the forearms all the way down through the fingertips start to get a little heavy. The belly softens with the breath. The pelvic muscles relax. The hips, thighs, knees, all the way down through the shins, the ankles, the feet and the toes, all relaxing, feeling supported. And here now, as we've let go of the body and let it be supported by the earth, supported by our practice, we now let go of the mind and let it drift and float. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do, but to just be here in this space and time of relaxation. Start to deepen the breath, letting each breath you take invite a little bit more awareness, coming back to the room, back to your body, and back to this moment here and now. Making any wiggles or stretches that feel good, perhaps even fluttering the eyes open if they were closed. And gently rolling over to one side. Pausing here to just let the body shift its orientation. And then gently inhaling, pressing and rolling up back to a comfortable seat. Taking as many of those fantastic little comfy items you may have been using for your Shavasana as you'd like. So I'm going to bring my blanket with me. Let it come over my lap as we end practice together. So taking a breath in and letting the hands come over the heart, one on top of the other, or into Anjali Mudra, prayer position. That breath comes in and we exhale it with a sound or a sigh. As we come to the end of our practice, taking a bow first to ourselves and thanking the body for showing up, the mind for being present, and the heart for being open. And a bow to you. I acknowledge you as a participant in this practice, sharing your energy, sharing your time and your space with me, and allowing me to offer this beautiful yoga practice for you. Jai Bhagwan, I hope the rest of your day, week, month, year is fabulous, and I will see you next time.